Hi everyone, my name is Grace and welcome to this podcast of Gracie, the Kenyan Diaspora and Returnee. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, we're so glad that you've joined us. This podcast is a forum for discussing everything diaspora and life as a returnee. Today, I have a guest on the show. His name is Mwaniki and he's a good friend of mine. Mwaniki lived in the diaspora and returned home years ago, and he'll be sharing with us his diaspora and returnee story. Hi, Mwaniki.
Hi, Grace. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm very good.
All right. Thank you for coming on the show.
No problem.
All right. I'd like us to just go into it.
Yeah.
Share with us your diaspora story. When did you go, and how long were you there?
So I left right after high school.
Mm-hmm.
So I left Kenya in 1993 and went straight to Worcester, Massachusetts.
Okay. Yes. Uh-huh.
I lived there for a little longer. Then I transferred to UMass, Lowell. So I moved to Lowell again.
Yes.
I pursued a degree in ICT
Okay.
and telecommunications. Then started working from there.
Yes.
But I lived in Mass for a total of about 13 years.
Okay.
Before relocating to Austin, Texas.
Okay.
Which is where I had my last stand before I returned to Kenya.
All right. How long were you in Texas?
I was in Texas for about 7 years, because in total I lived there about 20 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I think you're the first guest on the show who's been in the US longer than 15 years. So, yay.
hence the desire to return.
Right. You were ready to return.
Yeah.
And you went in the early 90s.
Yes, very early 90s.
Wow. Okay.
When, to tell you the truth, quite honestly, I happen to have siblings, older siblings who are in the States.
Okay.
So even when I went to the States,
it's
not because I knew so much about why I'm going to the States.
Right.
All I knew is that I'm joining my family members.
Yes.
Plus, the whole idea was just go to school.
Yes.
My parents were very persistent on school, like most parents are.
Yes. Yes.
And I had that opportunity to go to school there.
Yeah.
So I went and pursued that career in IT.
IT, yes.
And worked for several large corporations, including the likes of Nortel Networks, no longer existing.
Yeah.
Cisco.
Yeah. Oh, Cisco.
That one is still existing.
Yes, it is. I'm sure people here know about Cisco.
Yes, and of course now actually what ended up taking me to Texas was I got a job with Motorola.
Yes.
And the position available was in Austin, Texas.
Okay.
So I went to Austin.
Yes.
Again, I didn't stay too long because I think job opportunities back then were so good.
Yes.
So I stayed with with Motorola in Austin for about 2 years. Then moved to Intel.
So wow, big Intel company Austin. For real. Yes. Yeah.
So that was kind of the direction of my corporate story.
Yes.
All in all, during this whole period of time, I got married.
Yes. Okay.
I met my wife in Chelsea.
Okay.
Massachusetts.
Yes.
Hence the name of our first daughter. She's called Chelsea.
Oh, nice. Yes. Okay.
And we got married in the year 2000.
Yeah.
And she also was pursuing a career in nursing. So she's a nurse.
Yeah.
She's an RN.
Yeah.
So my movements were not a problem for her career because you could literally work anywhere as a nurse.
True, you can be a travel nurse.
Yeah. So finding jobs was not a problem. So she was quite flexible.
Yeah. And what's interesting, even as you're talking about your diaspora story, I realized you went in the early 90s, pre 9/11.
Yes.
So for those who don't know, we call it 9/11. It's the terrorist attack that happened on September 11th, 2001. I
yes,
believe,
correct.
in the US. And life was so different for diaspora back then compared to post 9/11.
Oh, post 9/11 was two different countries.
Yeah, right, seriously.
After 9/11, America changed.
Yes. Tell us about that. What was the difference in what you saw?
Well, first and foremost, when we went, things were relatively easy.
Yes.
I was young. I was barely 20.
Yes.
And then actually what happened was the first thing, like I said, I had older siblings who were
already there.
Who were already there.
Yeah.
So joining the system was very simple.
Yes.
they would pay for me the first semester of school, and they made sure that I went to school.
Yes.
It was a thing. If
Yes.
you're living with them,
you gotta go to school.
You gotta go to school.
Yes.
So I arrived in July. September I was enrolled.
Yeah.
I think I was a part-time student at that time because they could only afford to pay for one semester.
Yeah.
The idea was you get yourself a job, get yourself working,
yes,
and start paying for yourself school.
Right.
Which is basically what we did, and most people I know did the same.
Yeah.
So I remember the first thing was to go and open a bank account.
Yes, yes.
That bank account, it was with a company called Bay Bank.
I've never heard of them.
Bay Bank eventually will be bought by today in a fleet of selling and buying. Actually, it's Bank of America.
Oh, what?
Bank of America existed, but it was never in the Northeast. So the penetration to the Northeast was, Bay Bank was bought by a company called Fleet Bank.
Yeah.
Fleet Bank was bought by some other company. Eventually, Fleet was bought by Bank of America.
Yes.
And on and on and on.
It's continued expanding, and now even Merrill Lynch too is part of Bank of America. Wow.
Yeah. Yes. So it was an interesting story because when we went to open a bank account, of course, when I left Kenya, I hardly knew anything about banking.
Right.
Our parents were hardly banked, much less their children.
Right. It's true. Yeah.
Banking back in Kenya then was something else.
Yeah.
So the most exciting thing was Bank of America used to give us a credit card immediately. As soon as you open, sorry, not Bank of America, Bay Bank. Bay Bank
used to give you
$500.
What?
That was a lot of dough.
That is a lot of money back then.
Except I didn't want to spend it.
Right. And to think though that I also got $500 when I went in 2003.
Yeah.
I can't imagine just what were you doing with $500.
It was so much we didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
Of course, we ate a lot of burgers.
Yes,
and swiping everywhere. New clothes, new shoes, and everything.
Yes.
And a little indulging, of course.
Yes.
It was not expensive.
Right. Yeah.
So But then again, the problem was we didn't actually realize how quickly 30 days came to start paying this card.
The payment is due.
So talk of defaults.
Yes.
That started almost immediately.
Well,
understanding credit took a while.
Yes.
But then over time we got to learn and all that stuff. So we did all the things that young silly kids would do.
Right. Yeah.
The only thing is we maintained focus on school.
Yes.
And here we are. So I started school. Yeah. The whole thing. I graduated. Started working.
Yes.
And so forth.
Yeah.
So that's the younger part of my diaspora experience.
Right. And I can imagine back then, we were even talking about it earlier, the amount of partying that happens when you go to the diaspora as an 18, 19-year-old versus when you go when you're older.
Yeah.
Life is really different.
Totally different. In fact, like I said earlier, it took a while.
Yes.
Maybe it took me about 10 years.
Yeah.
To even snap out of I'm a kid.
Right. Because grow up now.
Yeah, grow up now.
Yes.
And so it happened. My sister, who had actually our firstborn sister, had actually gone to a different country.
Oh.
And did her bachelor's degree. But then they returned home to Kenya.
Okay.
There, where she was there, she met her husband, her now husband.
Yeah.
So when they returned, they actually got married. And they started working for Kenyan corporates here. But they didn't work for very long.
Yeah.
They worked maybe for a period of about 3 years. But it was enough experience for them, together with the best couple of theirs, who had also been in the same country, returned, did the same, and they also started working. It so happens that towards like around 1998, the both couples got visas to come to the US and actually to settle. They didn't have children. They had their children after they came to the States.
Yeah, makes it easy for the move.
Yeah. But what really shocked me, by the time they're coming and settling, I'm already nearly 10 years there.
Yes. Yeah.
But to my amazement, these guys bought a house within 5 years of their arrival.
You've been there 10 years. You're still
I've
renting.
been there 10 years. Not even renting. I'm not
Yeah.
actually thinking. I thought houses were for old people.
Oh, ownership.
Yeah.
Where am I settling
Like,
down?
yeah. But anyhow, so
yeah.
I kept observing that pattern.
Mm.
And one of the things I really, really noticed is that guys who had worked in Kenya, they came to the States with a totally different focus. They still went to school.
Yes.
Even them still advanced their education.
Wow.
And even got jobs,
yeah.
professional jobs.
Yeah.
But the total of focus was completely different. In fact,
Yes.
I say it's a blessing in disguise.
Yeah.
Because they make you snap out of your, you know.
Yeah, it's true. And I can say it even for, I went after I'd done my undergrad here. And I have friends who had gone when they, I finished my undergrad here and went for masters. I have friends who finished high school and went there for undergrad. And you find, I don't know if it's also the too much freedom. Like here, you're sheltered, you stay in your parents' house, and there you work. No one is asking you when you're leaving, when are you coming back. So you can work hard, and people do work hard. It's just that you're not limited like we are. So I think that freedom maybe also comes in play at some point. And
you see also, it's the freedom with a lot of money.
Yes.
Because you see,
your money.
No one can tell you what to do with it.
Yes.
So even just the thought of how to grow up, it takes a little longer.
Yes.
Because you're very, very free. You have money. You have cars.
Yes.
It was just that, right?
Yeah.
And over time now, I've seen why guys struggle to come back. One of the things I noticed is that by the time you really want to come back, you realize, wait a minute, I have not invested enough.
Right, I'm not ready.
You're not ready.
Yeah.
But because it is what it is, life still goes on. Then you start having children over there.
Yeah.
They start growing up. They start becoming teenagers.
Yes.
And you still can't come back because you can bring older children here. They struggle.
It's true.
So most people find themselves living up to when their kids are in college. By that time, you look back, you're like, wow, I've been here 30 years.
Right.
What's up with that?
What have I been doing?
Yeah, so it becomes a very tricky bit of wanting to come back home.
Yeah.
But I've seen a few people, really brave soldiers, who come back.
Yes.
But most of them, they come back mostly after their children have gone to college.
It's true.
So now at least they feel like, okay, my family is safe.
Yeah.
Now let me go to Jamhuri.
Right.
And see what's there.
Right. I'll come and see it for myself.
Yeah.
And also when you start getting kids, the education system in the Western world is free.
Yeah.
If you bring them here and you have accustomed them to the Western world, here they would probably fit in better in a group of schools or international schools.
Yes.
And if you do not have that amount of money and a job or a form of income that will sustain it, it will be very expensive.
It's totally expensive.
So it makes sense to stay there.
Yeah.
Until
they
the
finish.
kids are grown and have left.
Yeah.
But speaking of returning home, so what year did you return home and why?
So I started my journey of coming back home. I would say it somewhere around 2010.
Okay.
Basically, I'll give you a short story of why I even decided to come back.
Yeah, sure.
So you know how we all went to the States. You run your visa out of status.
Oh yes.
Because that's where you do it.
Yeah, we've talked about that with the previous guest.
Yes. And of course now you can't move.
Right.
But as a professional, we got an opportunity where our jobs filed for us papers.
Oh, the work visa.
Yes.
Yeah.
I remember at the time, I think it was Clinton who was president, and had said if you're in the field of nursing or if you're in the field of like engineering, which mine counted as part of that, you could actually file. We got that lucky.
Yes.
That window, we actually utilized that window. I don't know if we had a time limit or whatever it was, but we did pursue it and we were successful.
Yay.
So somewhere around 2008, after all those many years, from 93 to 2008, it's when we actually returned to Kenya for the first time.
Yeah, because you could not have come.
No.
Going back, you'd have gotten stuck because you didn't have.
We couldn't even go to Canada or Mexico.
Right.
That's how bad it is.
Just even you were in Texas, you couldn't even go to Mexico. Oh my
God. I couldn't even drive in that direction just in case I missed the exit.
You missed the exit, and those cops. I hear the cops near the border are more strict. So you better stay away. Just drive north.
Drive north.
Drive north, but not to Canada.
And not too north.
Yes, not too north. So 15 years later, you now come home.
Yeah, so I come home to visit.
Yes. And you said this was what year?
This is 2008.
2008, yes.
Yeah, 2008. Immediately after the chaos of the post-elections chaos of 2007.
Yes.
By this time, we already have two daughters.
Yes.
Who were born like in 2002 and 2004. So, so I come back.
Yeah.
This place is different.
Right.
It's totally different. Oh, I can tell you, it was just like living nightmare.
Yes.
The roads were not as good as they are today. So transport here was a total nightmare.
Oh, just from here to Shag, I remember
it was crazy.
An all-day event. Yeah.
We would see clouds like it's gonna rain, and literally start taking off from my mom's place.
Right.
Or else we will be stuck.
Yes.
So anyhow, so when we came, I noticed we used to go to different places to visit. Like we drove all the way to Mombasa, we drove to various destinations in the country. And I noticed there was a lot of trenching and digging going on along the roads. And I kept asking the driver that we had hired, you mean now is when they are like doing water systems in Kenya? They're like, no, that's not water. That's for fiber.
Oh my gosh.
That's what?
Yes.
Fiber.
Like the home fiber.
Let me put it this way.
Yeah.
I was in the field of IT.
Yes.
Fiber and all this stuff. Fiber optics.
Yeah.
But I had never seen people digging along the roads in America.
Right.
I don't even know how they did it.
In your whole 15 years, you're like, I never saw and you are in the industry.
Yes.
I
think the way which they do it in America is so automated. You're probably seeing some kind of a tractor doing it, but you don't even pay much attention.
Right.
Now here's an army of people.
Right.
And you're driving for kilometers and kilometers.
And they're putting on.
So it's very hard not to notice.
Yes.
So anyhow, I went and thought about it. I said, wait a minute, this is what I do.
Right.
I'm in the fiber optic business.
Yeah, I'm 15 years ahead of you guys. Yes.
So it occurred to me.
Yeah.
I went to where did I go? I think I went to one, and I couldn't help but see that they didn't have VoIP phones.
Oh.
You know, like I had come from a place where every branch calls every branch free of charge.
Right.
That's what we used to do. We used to make the switches that enabled that to happen.
Yes.
I said, wait a minute.
Yeah. Oh, now this is your Cisco experience coming in here.
I said, wait a minute. This is an opportunity. So I never paid much attention to that until we went back home, back in America. And then I thought to myself, I need to explore that more. Then when I started paying much attention, I realized the reason why there was so much digging going on is because the underground fiber, the SEACOM fiber had reached Mombasa. So now Kenya was to be interconnected with the rest of the world via fiber optic cable.
Oh, okay.
Undersea cables had come to Mombasa. Before it was all satellite, and satellite is very expensive.
Right.
So I pursued that, and I remember telling my wife at the time, you know what, I need to make a quick trip to Kenya, but this time I'm not going for a visit. I'm just going to do some exploratory thing for business. And I was thinking, I could set up the company when I was in America and run it when I was in America, because I was not seeing how I'm coming back, but I still needed to come back to set up a business. Yes. So in 2010, 2 years later, I came and I did the same. But this time around, I didn't even visit most people. I just came and started asking people I knew who were in business, how it goes, this and that. And I found myself more convinced that this is what I needed to do than before. Yes. But there was a problem. I needed money. That whole thing, it would require a lot of money.
Capital,
a lot of capital.
Yes.
And I didn't want to delay because I thought, wait a minute, you know, this is an opportunity I have to seize it now. Yes. Not go to save money in America for coming to start a business 5 years later. It's not going to be there.
Yeah, you'll have missed that opportunity.
Yeah. So what I did when I was still here, because I was here for about 3 months, I talked to a few people, and those few people were potential investors. So people I'll go talking to around and trying to tell them what I'm trying to do. And I concentrated mostly on family. Guys in my family who I thought were capable of financing such a thing. And luckily for me, because luck has to play a role somewhere.
Yeah.
One of them I was actually convinced.
Oh, nice.
So I went back to the States knowing that I have an investor.
Right.
Ready to invest a lot of money and get this thing going. So I went back home to the States. I told my wife what had happened. And again, there too, I got lucky. I was given the goodwill by her to actually go ahead and set it up.
She gave you the blessing.
Yes, but she kept asking me, is there a way you can work for Intel while you're still there? She didn't want me to let go of that job at Intel because it was one, they paid very well. And we had all kinds of nice perks. So 2012, I remember coming back again, seeing a lawyer, setting up the legal documents, the legal paperwork. And in 2013, I convinced my entire family we moved back home.
How old are your daughters at this time?
So the first one was born in 2012, 202.
202.
So that would make her 11.
Yes.
The second one was born in 04, so that's like 9. But then at this time, after we moved to Texas, we actually had our last born boy.
Oh, another baby, a third one,
2009.
Yes.
So he was the youngest.
4, yes.
He was barely off diapers.
Yes.
So.
And you're bringing a family to Kenya.
Yes.
Set up a business.
Without knowing what you're eating tomorrow.
I'm waiting to hear this story. Go on. This is a nice movie.
Well. Okay. Now reality had to sink in.
Yes.
One of the setups I had done with this whole thing of starting this business, day one, I knew there was no way it was going to pay us.
Yes. Yeah.
Right?
As with any business.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I still had to figure out how am I going to feed these guys?
Yeah.
So we were done. We had a few savings from the States. So I knew at least the first 4 months or so, we can handle it. So we went and rented a place, actually in Loresho.
Okay. Hey, hold on.
Yes.
Loresho.
Yes.
It's a high-end suburb in Nairobi. So, you have to sustain. You're looking for safety and something similar to what they were used to.
Actually, I'm embellishing a little bit.
Yeah.
Because it was either Kangemi, Loreto, or Mountain View.
Oh, yes. Those
it was
in somewhere there.
Yeah, some houses there that had been done by Coopers. They're called water something. Waterfront.
Yes, I know the waterfront. Yes,
the waterfront by the road, yeah?
Yes, I do know them. Yeah.
But we used
still, they were high-end when they came up. Yes.
So now, so we're here. We're also looking for a place that is convenient. My parents don't live too far from there.
Ah, okay. Yes.
In case everything goes south,
you can move in. Or they can pick up the kids, whatever. Yeah.
Then the schools we were pursuing at the time, they were actually happened to be along Wayaki.
Yeah.
So it was quite convenient.
Ah, yes.
So we started with that. In the meanwhile, while we are trying to get this thing up and running, this company, my wife had also decided she's also quitting because now she can't be a nurse in Kenya.
No, totally
that is
different.
Not going to work.
Totally
That's
different.
Not going to work.
Yes, it will not work. Even at Aga Khan Hospital.
It doesn't matter which hospital.
Yeah,
it's a totally different attitude.
Yes.
She's always been passionate about home interiors and interior work for homes and stuff, space management.
Yes.
So she actually started her own company doing the same on a small scale.
Yeah.
Me, on the other hand, I pursued heavily on what I had come to do.
Yeah.
What I had come to do was VoIP.
Right.
And I really wanted to target banks.
Yes.
Anything that had multiple branches.
Right.
But also, luckily for me, my investor happened to become my first client.
Oh.
He happened to have several businesses that needed to talk to each other without the cost.
Yes,
you get
free of charge. I get it.
So that actually worked out very well because we were able to actually get off our feet and say we have a client. Plus, his businesses were some of the best known businesses in Kenya. Oh. So they created a really nice resume.
Yes.
For me going to other clients.
Yes.
Oh, you've done this client. Oh, wow, nice. So it became a very good reference point.
Yeah.
So, and from there, with a few challenges here and there, we actually were off and going. And we've been running that company ever since to now.
Oh, wow.
Up to this date.
Yes.
With a few challenges here and there,
yeah.
but the company exists.
Yeah.
And it's, in fact, other than the period of COVID,
yes.
I can say we've had a growth.
Yeah. Okay.
Year on year. Yeah.
And so I know there's another business we'll talk about, but on this particular business, even with time, technology improves.
Yeah.
So are you finding that the local businesses are accepting the change and you're still able to sustain the business, in terms of the advancement in technology?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, let me put it this way.
Yeah.
I'll give you another, I will answer your question, but before I do that, I'll give you another story. So while I was trying to set up this business, this was by the time I decided, it was between 2010 and 2013.
Yes.
I have a high school friend, one of my very good friends from high school. This guy went to university here, just like you, when he finished high school. Yeah. But then he also came to Canada, and he worked here in Kenya for maybe several years, maybe 4 or 5 years.
Okay.
Before he came to Canada to pursue his MBA. When he came to Canada, I kept touch. And I kept telling him, now I'm ready, I'm thinking I need to go back to Kenya. And I can remember one time I called him, and he gave me a very funny story. I don't think he was trying to discourage me,
right,
but he was trying to prepare me for the ground. He knew the ground.
I knew he had worked here.
He had worked here. In fact, he was a CEO of a startup for some time. So he had worked in all levels.
Yeah.
He's an engineer too, so he could relate to what I was trying to do. He tells me, okay, Mwaniki, let me give you some piece of advice. I know you really, really want to go to Kenya, and I know there's no way I can change your mind. But I want you to do one thing. I want you to go there with an open mind.
Yes.
I said, oh, okay, of course. I'm actually going there with an open mind. I know businesses fail all the time. He tells me that's not what I mean.
Yeah.
But that's still a good thing
to think of. Yes.
It was like, listen, I know you're going to start an IT company, but just know one thing. If you find yourself selling beans about 5 years from now, accept what you're selling beans and move on with it. Because Kenya's businesses are totally unpredictable.
That's it.
You could go and start one thing, and 5-10 years later, you're doing a completely different thing.
Yes.
At the time, I could not understand.
Yeah.
I came to Kenya. For some reason, I never forgot about that.
Yes.
But it's never something that I really paid much attention to.
Right, yeah.
But, funny enough, what we do today and what I had come to start are totally different things.
I had a feeling you would say that.
Yes.
Yes.
Granted, we are still in the same field.
Yeah.
But the amount of resistance that I found when I came to do VoIP, and here I have a guy who has committed a lot of millions of shillings into this.
Yeah.
I couldn't afford to say we have failed.
Right.
I had to retool.
Yes.
It was inevitable.
Yes.
And actually, it's sort of a retool for the better, because the areas that we expanded into actually tended to become the bigger part of the IT that we do. We are mostly in IT security.
Yeah,
We do IT security, we do and we do both software, hardware. The only security we don't do is man security.
Right.
But anything else security.
You do it.
And smart security that is IT based.
Yes.
We do it.
And that means you were probably also here when CCTVs and everything started getting big.
Oh yes, and we totally took that opportunity. If there's an area that has built us up, is I can say it convincingly.
Yes.
It's the installation of CCTVs,
yes,
especially for corporates.
Yes.
The installations of biometric systems for corporates. The installations of firewalls for corporate. Those are the things which have really helped me.
For you. You know, it's so interesting because I've interviewed we've had this session with Solomon Wango of Goshen Acquisitions, Anne Wambui Gaida of Regal Africa.
Yeah.
And the open mind concept is something that I am hearing from many of us who've come back.
Yeah.
That it really helps to come with an open mind.
Totally.
And even when what you wanted has changed, finding a way to rethink what you want. And not stick to, but I came and this is what I wanted.
You have to be totally flexible.
Yes.
as long as whatever you're doing is legal and it's feeding you, or even give you the extra coin, it's fine. But you cannot be rigid. It's a very dynamic society that we live in. You know that you've been back. So it's you really have to be very agile.
You do.
And almost accept anything. So that kind of brought me back to what my friend was telling me. You could find yourself selling beans. Maybe it didn't mean beans literally. But
oh gosh, yes.
But it came to be.
It came to be, and we'll talk about that.
And since he's also been back in Kenya, I always remind him of that thing, and he tells me, "I'm glad you embraced that."
Right.
He tells me, "I'm glad you embraced that, because that is actually what happens in Kenya. It's a very different market from what we are used to. You'll find American companies that started doing cars in the 1900s are still doing cars in the 1900s, in 2000s. Most things are very structured in the States. Here, we thrive on chaos.
Right, honestly. In fact, that's what really your brain opens up and you think outside the box.
And it's this chaos that actually bring about opportunities in Kenya.
And there's so many of them. And even as we go into this, something else that, has come up as I'm, sharing different diaspora stories. When we're going through something, you don't realize what the purpose is, but it prepares you for something else. So for you, you came home for holiday and then decided to drive to the coast. You could have flown. And then you see people doing manual labor and you're like, what is going on? That trip by itself prompted you to go into this business.
Absolutely.
And then even when that business didn't work, you realize, but there's a need for security, and you go into CCTV.
Which now turns out to be even more robust than the VoIP thing, because the VoIP thing at some point it gets saturated.
It does.
But security never gets saturated.
No.
You always need more and more and more security.
You will,
especially smart security. So that's the space we're in.
Okay.
And that was in the field of ICT. Meanwhile, well, I figured, okay, IT is good. I noticed also something else about Kenyan businesses. When you set up a business and you're dealing with corporates or government entities, they tend to delay payments quite a bit. Depending on their financial health at the point. You could be done with the job and wait for payment up to 60, 90 days. So that kind of also started teaching me something else, which was I needed supplemental income.
To feed the family.
Yes, to feed the family. Something that I can be doing on a day-to-day basis, even when the other part of IT is kind of slow. And I can tell you it was quite beneficial to do so, because it taught me another side of Kenya I did not know.
Tell us about it.
This side of Kenya is when now I got to interact more, not with the corporate world, but mostly now with the day-to-day person. So I went and leased this big piece of land, about 10 acres in Kinango. When I went to list the land, of course, used the land brokers to do the same. So I sent someone to go find me the land.
What year was this?
This was around 2016.
Okay, so you've been in the country about 3 years.
About 3 years.
Okay,
So in 2016 is when I kind of really ventured into that. But it actually didn't start the actual farming maybe until like 2017. Thereabout. I thought, this is a very good idea. Let me just get into a bit of farming. But I've also been told, don't do small scale.
Go large scale.
Go large scale.
All right.
So my 10 acres was actually the beginning. I had seen myself with some 50 acres in the future. That's all this land. Why Kinango? Because I was told in Kinango, it rains all the time. As a matter of fact, there is no time that there is no rain. So it's a very prime area to do potatoes. We've always known that potatoes come from Kinango and those areas, cabbages, carrots, all those things. So I went and saw a nice piece of land, really flat, in like really nice piece of land. And I managed to lease it. And it wasn't cheap because the 5-year lease costed over $1 million.
Oh wow!
So obviously
$1 million total.
$1 million total,
context.
just for Kenya shillings. So you see, it's not cheap in any sense. But the returns were supposed to be even bigger than that, way bigger than that, right?
Yeah.
So we till the land, we do all this stuff, we get ready to plant. We do 5 acres of potatoes and 5 acres of cabbages. Luckily, the two pieces were they were near each other, but not joined.
Okay, not adjacent.
Yeah. So, first year was really nice. Really nice. I can tell you the first year was really nice. And the reason why it was really nice is because the weather patterns were normal.
Okay.
So it would rain when it's supposed to rain.
Yeah.
And all this. And we harvested a lot of potatoes. I can actually tell you that 5 acres.
Yes.
That first year.
Yeah.
It brought in more than a third of all the money that I had.
You had put out. Yes.
Now, there are 2 seasons, at least 2 seasons per year that you can do the same.
Yeah.
So my idea was crop rotation. This one which had cabbages.
Yes.
When the cabbages get out,
put
we do potatoes.
Yeah.
And vice versa,
yes,
right?
Yes.
And the pattern continued. The second year wasn't so bad either. Then came the third year. The second year.
Yeah.
Now the third season of planting.
Yes.
Oh, I didn't realize that flatness with that piece of land was gonna be my undoing.
Oh, what? Why?
It rained, and it rained heavy. It flooded.
See, you were told it rains all the time. You were not told it floods.
It flooded.
Yeah.
I remember we had planted about whatever it was numbers for cabbages.
Yeah.
I was doing my simple math. 20 shillings a cabbage. I was supposed to make 2 million.
Ooh, that's a lot of cabbage.
That's a lot of cabbage.
That's a lot of cabbage.
That's how much I realized how big 5 acres can really be.
Yes.
Except we made losses. We actually literally lost everything. Cabbages were rotting.
Oh.
And they're grown, but they are rotten, and there's nothing much you could. You just watch them.
Right.
The same thing happened with potatoes. That's the time now somebody came and told me, here in Kinango, you don't lease lands that are flat. Why do you think it was empty?
Oh my God.
That's why it was vacant.
Yeah. And you had never done farming.
I had never done
You'd
farming.
never lived in Kinango, so you would not know this.
Nah,
Yeah.
Nah. And the brokers are very good. They'll show you land when you're trying to lease land. They'll always show you land when the land is prime. They can never take you there when it's raining or when it's very dry. That was lesson number 1. Don't lease land that is very flat.
By the way, it's the same thing with even renting apartments and things like that.
Yes.
Make sure you check it out when it's the rainy season, because some apartments could be in flood zones.
Yeah.
Yes.
So second was I decided, I'm not giving up. I already leased the land for 5 years.
Yeah.
What to do?
Yeah.
So I get into this engagement with these companies that export foods. I won't name the name. I won't mention the name.
Fine. Yes.
But they literally played me.
Yeah.
And they played me in the sense that they will give you the seeds. They will give you some kind of expertise. They'll be sending the agronomists. They come and check out whatever you've planted and all that stuff. So there is the professional support from them.
Yeah.
Only not to realize this professional support was going to be my undoing. The professional who is sent by the company to bring me seeds, again, this inexperience of not being a farmer comes to catch you. He would literally exchange sweet peas with normal pea seeds, and I have no clue. And he will go sell the sweet peas because they're very expensive.
Right.
When the plant grows, first of all, you call the company. You tell them, by the way, I haven't seen the agronomist for some time. Oh, he quit. He quit. So can you send somebody else? It's like, yeah, sure. They send somebody else, comes and says, what have you planted? These are normal peas.
Oh, man. And
I thought we gave you the seeds.
Right.
What did you do with the seeds? I said, we planted the seeds.
Right.
Oh, no.
No. You were given normal peas.
Yes.
And you were calculating your ROI would be sweet peas.
Yes.
Even I'm sure the cost of the seeds you bought was sweet peas costs, not normal peas. Wow.
There goes your season.
Yes.
Nobody wants those peas. And you are doing it for the company to export.
Oh man.
The level of dishonesty was on another scale.
Yes.
So I quit that too.
Yeah.
COVID came. When COVID came, we couldn't travel to Kinango because you couldn't do
There were
inter-county
restrictions.
travels.
Yes.
By the time COVID is ending, my lease is also ending. So in all, I would say I don't think I broke even.
Right.
So
even
I had to
though
let
you
go.
made money initially, it all got wiped out.
It all got wiped out.
Yeah.
Including the lease money, including the labors, including everything.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
So that actually threw me back quite a bit. But at the same time, when I had leased the land in Kinango, I had also thought that having manure is actually very good for you since you're farming. So I decided, my parents always had chicken when we were growing up for layers, for eggs.
Yeah.
So I said, this is something I can venture into. So about the same time, 2017, I got into poultry business. I started keeping chickens for eggs. And that was very helpful because all the manure we'll get, we'll take it to Kinango. So manure was never an issue.
Yeah.
So the chicken business. The chicken business has not been bad. It actually helped me during COVID time because when businesses were very slow, like the IT business was very slow, it actually kept us busy. Busy.
Yeah.
And it's one area of farming that I can tell you that has been growing ever since I started.
Nice. And people are always buying eggs.
People are always buying eggs.
So yeah.
It has its challenges too.
Yeah.
And there can be serious challenges.
Yeah.
Because the cost of feeding is very expensive.
Yes.
Especially after COVID.
Yes, it's coming.
Maize became too expensive.
Yeah.
So then we had to retool in that business as well and decide that we cannot afford to be buying feeds from the millers.
Yeah.
The best thing was to invest in those machines to make your own feeds.
Yeah.
And that's what we did. And actually, that's what has helped our sustainability.
Oh, nice.
Because we're able to lower the cost of the feeding significantly.
Yeah.
So that has been okay.
It has been okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in last week's episode, when I was hosting Anwa Boy Gaida, we talked about trade and investment in Africa and how it's going to be very helpful if the diaspora invests back home, not just waiting on the foreigners to do it or the locals to do it, but the diaspora to boost that. What can you tell the diaspora based on your experience when it comes to investing back home and outside of real estate?
Yeah, so if it was talk to some diaspora people who are intending to come or who are even newly here, who haven't seen much, first I would start with the guys who are already in the States, who maybe have some intentions of coming. My lessons of returning are different. If I had to do it all over again, there are several things that I would have done that probably would have made my transition much smoother than it actually was. It wasn't so bad, but it could have been better.
Yeah, tell us about that.
One, before I even start my journey of coming to Kenya, I would invest in a place to stay. That's number one. I would not care much whether it's a very expensive house or not very expensive house, but I would actually avoid the issue of paying rent. That's number one.
And why?
And that is for people coming to Kenya to do business.
Oh, yes.
Not returning with a salary.
Yeah, because your cash flow is not consistent.
It is very inconsistent.
Yes.
And businesses in Kenya are very fluid.
Yes.
This month you can make a lot. 2-3 months down the line, you have nothing.
And then still, people are not paying you because of what we were talking about.
Precisely.
Yes. Yeah.
So you'd rather have some kind of a house you've invested in. And even if you don't live in it, because I would have bought even in a very cheap market in Kenya. And even if I don't live in it, I can rent it out. And if things get really thick, I can move in there.
You can move in there, yes.
That's number one.
Yeah. But
if
before you go to the second one, I want to just, for the sake of the diaspora, because I've been here now 4.5 years.
Yeah.
Wow, time has flown. 4.5 years already.
Yeah.
When we're in the diaspora, there are neighborhoods we're so scared of coming back to, even if we lived there because of insecurity.
Correct.
Would you still pose the same thought, the same advice to someone who has kids? They're coming with a family, or it's a lady. Would you still say the same thing?
I would.
Okay.
I would. And like I say, it's for fall back on.
Yes.
You don't have to live there.
Yeah.
You can actually just buy it.
Yes.
And
rent it out.
And rent it out.
Yeah.
and you can even use part of that rent maybe to supplement your rent in a higher market.
It's true.
Yeah. So not necessarily, but in the event that things got really, really bad,
kukiumana.
Yeah. There's somewhere you can say, you know what?
Yes.
From next month, I don't need tenants.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So that's lesson number one. Number two, I would invest in a car before I come here. I would literally go to those sites in Japan or whatever.
Yes.
And send a vehicle to Kenya.
Yes.
Because coming to buy a vehicle in Kenya, my experience has been just beside being expensive, it's also, I've noticed that it's very easy for you to be brokered and sold for vehicles that are not good or all this stuff. If you buy a genuine nice car, it's way expensive. In my opinion.
Yes.
So, and it doesn't have to be an expensive vehicle.
Right.
Again, I'll do very basic.
Just a good vehicle.
A car that can take you from point A to point B.
Yeah.
When you come and succeed in business, you can always offer it for an Uber and maybe buy your own big car.
Yeah.
Or even you can still send it here, have it do business, whether it's Uber business, whatever business it does. Yeah. And now buy another car that you want. Yeah. But in the event that the business is not bringing enough money,
you can drive that car.
Yeah. You can lose. You can. The bank can come and take your car that you're financing. And you won't walk the next day. It's true,
you won't. Yeah. You know, and it's so funny you've said that because I had never thought of that. But it was a blessing for me that when I was coming home, I talked to a friend of mine who told me, I asked him, so what do I do with all my things? I owned a condo. Yeah. In caps, he said, ship everything.
Precisely.
So I'm like, wait, ship everything, even the kitchen stuff, and then in caps said everything. So I started looking for shipping companies, and there's so many of them, and the cost I was getting from them, when you think of like, you know, in the States, I'll use states that I'm familiar with. Yeah. In the States, you can get a big company that will ship things from state to state. Yes, so initially I was looking for those types of movers. Or the ones who move international companies or expats, and it was very expensive. So I went back to the same friend who had told me ship everything to ask him, do you know any company that's reasonably priced? Yeah. And he told me about a moving company in Atlanta. Yeah. And as I'm talking to this guy, he's a Kenyan, as I'm talking to him to tell him I'm shipping things, he actually asked me, what are you doing with your car? And I said, oh, I was going to sell it. I was okay with selling it because you can go into many places and sell it. And he told me, you know, if you have owned a car for, was it more than 1 year, you can sell it. And when you come here, KRA allows you to buy a car that is similar. So you don't even have to necessarily ship it. But we are allowed as former diaspora to come here and you can bring in a car that's equivalent.
That's very true.
That was my savior because my car that I started with was a car that I used that benefit. Yes. And it saves you so much on import costs.
Oh, it does.
Yeah, because import costs will be almost the cost of buying the vehicle.
The duty is crazy. Yeah. 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 So that actually, that's a very good point because a lot of us don't even remember. Part of it, when you stay here for so long, even some of those things you start forgetting. Yes. But it's a very, very big benefit for anybody who is trying to relocate. Transport, housing. Those are headaches you don't need when you come back. Just get those out of the way.
Out of the way.
Completely.
And also to remember that here, like now I think we're driving, what is it, 2013 or 2014 models?
Yes,
something.
Like 8 years.
It's 8 years behind. Yeah. And yet you will buy it for something in the States, it would have been a much older car.
Oh, yeah.
Because the total cost of buying a vehicle when it has landed here is very expensive.
It's very expensive.
But you get those import fees waived. Yeah. I do have a question on that advice. So in Kenya, we drive on the left side. Yeah. In the States on the right side. Would you still advise people who are in countries that drive on the opposite side to do that? Because we don't drive cars that are that don't match our lanes.
Like you're talking of guys who basically they're in a country like the UK where we drive on the same side of the road. I think, in my opinion, I've found out to be true. Vehicles that are generally shipped from Japan, even though they are made by European companies, they tend to have more resistance in Kenya, like for this market, than vehicles that actually come from let's say the UK or Germany or whatever they come from, vehicles made for those markets, one, they consume very high. They are huge consumers of fuel, unless it's these little tiny cars.
Yes.
But generally speaking, okay, that's on maybe on a car-to-car basis for someone to make such a decision.
Yeah.
But I would rather buy a vehicle that is made for this market.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So whether you're shipping it directly or you're buying it here locally, but at least it's made for this market.
Right. But what about someone who lives in the US and the driver's seat is on the opposite side?
Yes, so those vehicles, leave them in the US.
Leave them in, that's what I was going to say. Leave them in the US because our terrain here, even in Nairobi,
it's not even, I don't even think.
Anytime it rains, the big potholes, our vehicles are not ready for that. Yes. But yes, any other advice? So there was housing, invest.
So I'd say there's the housing and there's a vehicle and everything. But the biggest of them all, to me, is schools. Schools is the big kahuna.
Yes.
And I say schools because before we settle to where our kids go to school today, we had to try like 2 other schools.
Oh man, and they are at that tender age, at least for the firstborn especially.
And they won't fit.
Yes.
They would not fit, and it was just total chaos. And those are young kids who almost should adapt to any situation.
Right, yeah.
But schools, like you said in the beginning, if they have to go to these international schools, they're very expensive.
They're
extremely expensive. To some point, you even ask yourself, is it really worth it?
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
It's a lot of money. Granted that they will, if they transition very well, if the kids were in the school in the US and here, especially if you go to like an American school system.
Right. Oh yeah.
So now, that one is the big one. To me, if someone has young kids, or let's say school age kids.
Yes.
That's from pre-primary to let's say 12th grade.
Right, yeah.
At that point, you really need to ask yourself, if I was to bring this child to Kenya, what type of school would they go to? And if you decide, okay, they're gonna go to an American school system, I would say one thing also. Figure out the fees outside of your business, because your business might not be able to sustain. Once in a while, you'll always run out of money for schools. So that's another one that I would have probably changed differently if I knew then. Because once you start getting into business in Kenya, you realize how inconsistent in terms of payments they are. There are many opportunities, but the payment system is so inconsistent. You can't budget on it.
No, you can't.
So it becomes like you're doing 2-3 things so that when this one is not paying, this one is paying, this one is not paying, this one is paying. But you see, for schools it's tricky because at some point all 3 may not be paying.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. And
so
the kids have to go to school. It's like housing. You have to be paying a mortgage or rent no matter what.
So I'll tell you this, and I've seen this quite a bit. Guys who come here with children, I know quite a number, and after a while, they either ship the kids back to the US to their relatives. And especially if the parents cannot return because their paperwork was not straight.
Right.
Or you find the entire family, not because the business did not work,
but for their kids.
It's just the kids, they cannot afford the schools that the kids need to go to. And they literally have to shelf off their business ideas, whether they were working or not, just for the sake of their kids.
Oh, that's a big one.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
So you literally have to figure out the school thing. Now for someone whose kids are done with school and everything, hey, if you invest in just those 2 where you know you can never sleep outside the house, and you can never walk.
Yes.
Oh, come and give it a shot.
Right. Yeah.
The opportunities are many.
There are many. You know, I never even thought about that you get to a point where you want your kids to get the best education and you find yourself sending back the kids because what will you do?
Yes. And now, by the way, before you continue, you know, we still have other people who don't have children, but still want to return.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Those are the best. Because now when the child is born here, now from day one, you just need to figure out a good school here that you can afford. But they're not transitioning from this system to this system.
Another one,
You know? And so any good system you can afford, hey, they'll fit right in. Yeah.
And you see, this is why even for you and for anyone else who goes to the diaspora and moves back, I don't know that you would have thought of that. Like, because you were born and raised here, you probably went to a city council school, and it worked for you. So when you're bringing kids, you're not, it's not a thought that might be automatic until you're here. And especially if you've been involved in the school system on the other end, you are so involved that you understand the teachers, the curriculum, the extracurricular activities, and you come here and you realize, oh man, my child's gonna lose so much.
So that one is a big one. So those are some of the few things that I'll do differently. Now, as far as now business-wise is concerned, venturing into business in Kenya, even if somebody has such good ideas, like I had those very good ideas, I think it's also helpful if somebody could just find people, not necessarily in that business or line of work that you want to do, but guys who've been in businesses in Kenya, and spend a lot of time with them, a lot of time to understand like really what works here and what doesn't. And if it works, how does it work? Because you know, we find, you and I, we've been around now for some time. We still find Kenyans who are Kenyans, never even traveled anywhere, thriving in business like crazy.
And it's not that your idea is bad. In fact, it's a very good idea. It's probably a niche, but how to run it here, it
becomes a big challenge. And part of that is not understanding the ground as it is. You know, these guys understand the ground, how things are done.
Ground.
How things are done. So it's not a question of how brilliant your idea is. It's a question of how it's executed.
How to navigate it. And you know, it's the same in corporate. We'll have another session in the next week or two about corporate life to adjusting, even when you're in the same industry. But I like what you have said. Talk to the people on the ground. You know, oftentimes we share our ideas with people who will understand and guide us in that sense. But then I feel like there should be a school for adjusting back home.
A manual.
Because you think you're street smart, but you're street smart in the diaspora sense. And then you come here, and even as an adult, you're like, oh, how do I not know this? How is it also so different? This is my home country, and you'd think it is so much harder to navigate. So yes, please get advice from people who've been here,
people who've been doing it, and mostly people even who have never traveled. Because those guys know the ground. The ground. And it's different than what you see on the surface.
What you see, as we finish up, let's talk about the trust aspect, because you were coming, I mean, you just wanted to buy land and farm. You know, food and agri is such a good thing to get into.
Totally.
But from the broker to everything, the agronomist selling you the wrong piece, to I'm sure even in your ICT business, what can we advise the diaspora? Because it's one of the things that family members, close friends are not being honest with the diaspora, and it's making it hard for them to come back home.
Exactly. And I think, to me, out of my own experience so far, is that first, I wouldn't say don't trust anyone, but always sort of trust, but question. So for instance, if I go and tell you to find me a piece of land, and I truly trust you, but I will also look for like 2 other people to do the same over the same piece of land. And what I've come to learn is you will get 3 different prices because the level of dishonesty. So there is this one who's saying they've already colluded with the person who's selling or leasing, and they've already said, remember, if the land is being leased at 20,000 shillings per year, I want you to say it's 21 and 1 is mine. You know, one belongs to the broker. That doesn't mean you still not pay this guy his commission. His commission is still there, intact. But over and above his commission, there's another level of distrust that he must top up with this 1,000 through the seller or the lease, whoever is leasing the land. So there is that question of almost everything has to be re-verified and re-verified. If you send me to buy you a car, find 2-3 other people and ask them how much would such a car cost, and see if and I'm not saying everyone is dishonest. There's a few souls here who are really good people, but they are very rare to come by. Because you know, here the level of mistrust is from a hospital to, I mean, in every field.
Everything, yes.
Everything.
Yeah.
Somebody is trying to take advantage
Everyone's
of you.
trying to make a buck.
Yes.
Yeah.
Off of you. And the wrong way. Because sometimes you'd rather tell someone, I'll get you the right thing.
Yeah.
Usually my commission is 3%, but I'll charge you 4%.
Right.
And be genuine.
Right.
Everybody would accept that.
And I think that's what us diaspora are accustomed to, is we are accustomed to straight talk and honest talk.
Yeah.
Is, Mwaniki, I have found you this. This is what it cost me my time.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. I even personally took a trip there to make sure I was recommending the right thing. I've also vetted the guy I'm recommending. So I want something, you'll actually appreciate that.
Oh, totally.
And you respect them for that. But this other one.
So it's become such a way of life in Kenya that you can collude with somebody, top up some few bucks on top, as a way of making the extra money. But all in all is wrapped up in complete dishonesty.
It is.
So I would say verify, and verify.
Again and again and again.
Yes.
I actually have a personal experience for that. So when I was ready to buy land here, we're in 2023, so 2021, late 2021, I decided I wanted to buy land. And I was taken to see the land. And the price I was told per acre, when I did the math, it made sense.
Yes.
But then I thought, my mom and I are close. I really trust her.
Yeah.
She's one of the few people I can trust with my money. Let me run it by her.
Yeah.
And so we were going to go see the land. And I actually went with my brother and my dad. And as I'm telling them the price, they're like, where? Just the math for that location is not making sense.
Yeah.
So we go there and we see the land. My mom is a very social person.
Yeah.
So she decides, she'll go and talk to that person she has seen, a
Yeah.
local.
Yeah.
She goes, biggest stories, even understands how was this land given.
Yes.
There are all the stories of how land was given during the colonial time. And she gets the price of the land in that area. But then she decides, as we're leaving, she sees another shoshu, an old lady, and decides she'll also talk to that lady. I'm not kidding you. Between the price that the guy selling me the land was giving me and the initial person she spoke with and this lady, there were 3 prices. But 2 of them live there.
Yes.
And it's rural but very beautiful, remote area, scenic. And I kept thinking, so even the people in the rural area are doing this? And what it was, she actually had contacts of brokers from Nairobi who would tell her, this is the price we will say and you will get something. I'm like, oh my God. I'm grateful I went with my family because the price I paid for.
Yeah. Versus what you could have paid for.
About
the difference is crazy.
It's crazy. I probably saved 60%.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, and I did not push. I didn't even negotiate. But the initial price the first neighbor told us was the real price for that area.
Wow.
And you would never have known because sometimes even valuers can be compromised.
Really?
So you would know.
In fact, valuers are compromised all the time.
All the time, yes.
So that's the most important thing is because of the level of dishonesty and you don't know who you can trust and who you can't really trust. As bad as it may appear, it's all because you don't really trust that person, but you just need to verify.
You just trust but verify.
Trust but verify.
Yeah, all right. Oh, well, it's been so great having you.
Thank you.
Do you have any final words, piece of advice, especially for diaspora coming with young kids or anything?
Yeah, but even more important, I think I actually would say this. It's important for these guys to come back.
Yes.
I would urge anybody who really can come back to try and come back, because the only way we can change this country is when we are many. Yeah. And these experiences that we are sharing, the more and more of us share, the more now they start becoming the norm. Yes. And now we start changing this place slowly by slowly. Yes. And make it even easier for the guys in the future to come back without the worry of having to be conned and all this stuff. Yes. But it's really, really nice to see guys come back. I would really like to see more and more people
More
come
diaspora
back.
come back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it makes everyone's work easier. I truly believe that every word you told me
Yes.
is true.
Yes.
Just like in the States, when you go, God gives you His word, it is the word.
It is the word.
You
yes.
know?
Yeah.
But today, if I'm not dealing with the diaspora, I always feel like I've been told things, but I still need to verify that.
Yeah.
And I end up even going to another bank to verify. Is
Yes.
this really true? You know?
Yes. Yeah.
So when we have more and more of us coming back, providing different types of services, it becomes easier for everybody.
It does.
Isn't it?
It does. It does.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's true. And we set the pace of what we want this country to be.
Yeah.
You know, there's always the saying, be the change you want to see. We come home, we invest, we build prosperity in this place that is still our home.
Yeah.
So our knowledge, our expertise is going to be beneficial too. And with that, Mwaniki, we will wrap up.
Yes.
Thank you
so much
for coming.
Thank you for the opportunity to talk to the diaspora.
You are so welcome. Thank you also for listening. Have a great day, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are.